There we go.
Okay, welcome to Chat with Sandy and Karen. And today's guest, we've got a very special show today. We've got Sharma, Tracy, Yvonne, and Anna, who'll be talking to us about the impact of online learning it has had on them, both privately and professionally. So I'm not going to introduce these wonderful women. Why don't you introduce yourselves?
Let's go for it.
Okay, I'll start. I'm Tracy Blaisdell. I live in Kansas City, USA. I teach at a local university here called Rockhurst University. So I teach management and marketing for undergraduate and graduate students. I also have 4 kids, and so we've been negotiating and trying to muddle through our own online experience. My kids are ages 4 through 20, and I have a husband who now works from home, and a really sweet lab named Hank.
Okay.
Go for it. Show the order.
Okay. My name's Sharma. I live in Essex. And I work in an infant school. I'm the family support officer and attendance admissions. So I deal with all the newcomers and anything else that needs to be done with that. But I also deal with all the families within Newham who have a lot of issues. And as you can imagine at the moment with COVID, that's quite high. I'm job sharing at the moment, so I'm going into work on some occasions, but I do work from home, as well as my 3 children who are working from home, one at university, one doing her final year of A-levels, and my youngest is the first year of GCSE. So it's a bit crazy in the house, but home learning is happening with great difficulty. Okay.
My name's Anna, and I'm a secondary school science teacher. I'm currently living and working in Mozambique. And my husband is also a teacher. He teaches secondary school English and psychology. So he's online teaching as well. And then I have 2 children aged 10 and 7 who are also trying to find internet bandwidth to learn from home as well. We're actually able to go back face-to-face this past week. So that's definitely, it's helped a little bit. But we've had plenty of off-on distance and face-to-face. Yeah, we were actually online from March through November. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. My name's Yvonne. I'm living in Sweden. I'm an Usborne rep. I sell books to schools, English books to schools in Sweden. I've only been doing that because we moved to Sweden and I needed to do something. So from working in publishing companies in Belgium where I lived before, I've lived around the world a little bit, I decided to launch a business in Sweden, which was difficult because Swedes don't understand you coming into a school to sell. So it was a whole different ball game of convincing them this is a really good idea. And of course, it's been affected with COVID. Schools have moved. They didn't move in Sweden to online learning. Above 16 they did, but below you still attended school, but they wouldn't allow any visitors in. So hence I wasn't allowed in. My husband and I are obviously working at home. And just from last week, our youngest child, who is 14, has been doing online learning. So really for us, we haven't been exposed to much online learning for the children in Sweden. They advocated us still going to school unless you were ill, keeping things as normal as possible for children. But saying that if you were 16 and above, you were online learning. The eldest is 16. He's now in a gymnasium, which for the UK people would be like a college, secondary college. And he has been doing online learning 2 weeks before the Christmas holidays, and he's still doing it now. The government here has suggested possibly changing to bring kids into the school again. And that's up to the school, depending on how many COVID numbers there are. So it's a little bit, the government are giving the decision to the, what would you call it, the communes. It's up to you. How many numbers do you have? How big is your school? So we're a little bit waiting week to week to know. I literally don't know next week what's happening. So That's a little bit unusual, but I'm learning to go with the flow. I'm learning the day before to ask who is home and who is going to school and what time do I have to have my alarm set to chase one of you out the house.
It's amazing. So, Karen, we've got like these 4 amazing women with so many different stories to tell us and everybody else, right?
Yes, this is fascinating. So, gosh, okay. So Tracy, you're working in higher ed.
I am, yes.
Are they doing in Texas? It seems a popular program is called HighFlex.
Yes.
Is that kind of what your experience is, or what is your school doing?
Well, we have a mix of classes. So we're a small university, and we need every single student that wants to come to us. And so we've been really bending over backwards and trying to figure out how to offer classes that the students want. So we offer some in-person classes. So we have students living on campus. That started in August. And then I teach primarily hybrid. So a class that would normally meet, usually I would teach, for example, principles of marketing twice a week, the same class, same students twice a week for 75 minutes each. We've moved to a lot more hybrid so that students only come once a week. And then the other class is usually asynchronous coursework. Or I've also taught in a structure probably more similar to HighFlex, where half the students come on week 1 and half the students come on week 2. And then we also have some classes that I'll teach fully online. So the struggle for myself and other professors in my university is that you're teaching in so many different, we call them modes, so many different modes. And classes that you've taught before, sort of as a university professor, you kind of get a little bit lazy in that you prep a class and you just keep improving it, but you keep the basics the same. And the challenge has been, okay, well, the things that worked really well in the classroom don't translate as well. So I feel like the thinking and the strategy that I've had to use that I got from other people really is, don't try to take what you did in the classroom and just put it online. Kind of start fresh. Just go back to the basics, go back to the learning objectives. What do you actually need to accomplish in that chapter, that unit, that module, and then make your plan. Because a lot of people at the beginning seem to just want to record their lectures that they would give in person, or just kind of very much take what you did in the classroom and just force it online. And we've learned that that's not the best way to go. So It's been a challenge, but it's been fun. And I think I've learned a lot, and I actually like teaching hybrid now.
Awesome. That's good. So this has been an exploration where you've learned things that have helped you be a better educator, perhaps?
I think so. Yeah. And that's the whole reason I've met Sandy and Anna, actually, is because I realized that I didn't know a lot about the science of teaching. And I am doing this master's program with them with that goal in mind.
That's awesome. Fabulous.
Sorry. Sharma, can you describe your typical day at work?
Okay, well, at the moment, we've got, it's a very small school, but the way the government in the UK decided that all key worker children and children who are vulnerable need to attend school. So we have around 60 children who come to school at the moment, and that's out of 370. So it's still quite high. But my day basically consists of dealing with parents phoning me up and asking me questions with regards to food parcels, food banks. It was, there's this, you're kind of thrown into something, and normally it would be a structured day, the way it was previously, but it's kind of all over the place at the moment. So it's just trying to deal with things is quite difficult. I mean, every single day is going to be different. Every single day you go in, you've got a new challenge to deal with. So I'm dealing with people with their finance, dealing with people with regards to food banks, housing issues, people being made homeless. all of a sudden. So for me, I wake up and I'm going into work and I don't know what's going to be facing me when I get here. So it's quite hard. It's quite challenging. And it also, I mean, mental health issues is quite high with regards to children as well as parents. We've had young children who are quite scared, saying that people, if you get COVID, you're going to die. Because that's what they're hearing. So it's unfair. We only got to 7-year-olds in our school, which is quite young. So for me, for when I go into work, it's quite challenging. But I've got my kids at home who are trying to deal with their home learning, and even that's a challenge. I've got a son in university. He's never been to campus. He's never actually been to his university. It's his first year. All of his lectures are online. So for him, it's quite difficult. He's not had that time to socialise with other people or to even meet his lecturers face to face. To deal with that, it's quite difficult. But and even with the younger two, constantly from 8:30 their day begins, and it's like a normal school day, but in front of the computer, in front of the screen, and that's really hard. It's really difficult for them to actually understand, to get the work done. They keep going, they keep doing it because they know that if they don't, then I get a phone call from school to say that they didn't attend. So it's quite difficult at the moment, and it's very hard for parents in general, just trying to get their children to sit there and do the online learning. It's really hard, and parents are wanting their young children who are 4, 5, 6-year-olds to be having online learning. It's not easy for them. I mean, children don't want to sit in front of the screen and have that, but at the same time, we can't have them in school. So it's quite a difficult situation at the moment.
Shama, if it's okay, I wanted to jump in on something that you said about your college student, your university students. We're really experiencing that in higher education in the US too, that students feel isolated, they're away from home, but they're not really having fun, having like the college or university experience with their friends. They're taking their classes online instead of having those social points where they would go to class. And students are reporting a high level of anxiety and depression in the United States.
Yeah.
So I feel for you. I'm a mother of a college university student as well. And it's so hard when you know that they're not having the same experience they would normally and they're away from home. And so just wanted to share with you, you're not alone in that. We're all in that one, feeling that same way together.
I know, it's so difficult. My son actually told me about another student on the same course as him, and they talk to each other, they do coursework and things, so there are WhatsApp groups and everything going on. But someone came on and said that he was no longer going to be on the course because unfortunately he committed suicide.
Oh, gosh.
I've read that before. I've read a few people in the UK committing suicide.
And he's 19, 20 years old, and it's heartbreaking. He was, his levels were really high. He was really good at what he was doing, but the stress of the course had got to him. And I've seen my son. I mean, he took a year out. This is his first year at university, and it's supposed to be the best time of your life. Your first year, you're going out, you're meeting people, you're enjoying it. And all he's doing is, my son's literally running out bed, he's in front of the screen, the workload is immense, but he's getting it done. But I can see him, the lack of sleep, not eating, and it's really hard for them. It's really difficult.
I think it's also, I think that they know it's like when you go to university, you know that those first few weeks are not at school at all, you're just partying. I mean, from ours, we don't have, that's true, isn't it? And they're missing out on that. As much as you as parents don't want to think about that, that's all they're doing, partying 24/7, okay? Telling you, I'm fitting in, Mom, I'm fine. But as a boy, they probably haven't even washed their laundry for 3 or 4 weeks. But that's a part of an experience for our son who is now in gymnasium. So here they go to a school, 3 schools, if you like, and he was at the second, and they always have this big party at the school where the teachers, they serve them food, they have a disco, and all the kids dress up. The girls dress up in dresses of some description and the boys wear a suit. And he started talking to us about that in year 8, the end of year 8. We were already looking, and I was like, we'll get you a nice suit. And he was like, do I want the tie or the bow tie? And we were discussing what type of suit, the color, the shoes, everything. And we had looked at past images of photographs. I mean, it was a big thing. And of course, he started, it should have been in June of 2020, and it got cancelled. So you feel for him. I mean, yes, him and a group of friends met, but they're missing out on something which they can't get back. You can pretend to do Freshers Week again, but you can't get it back. It's something you pretend to do again, like some people are having Christmas in February, but it's not the same.
No.
That's tough.
My daughter's final year, she's doing her A-levels this year, and she should be having prom. It's the end of her school life. It's not going to happen. They're not going to have a prom because of the situation. It's quite sad. Thankfully, she had prom after she'd done her GCSEs. That was 2 years ago. And, so she had the whole gown and, it was lovely. The way they'd done it was beautiful. But she was saying it's not going to happen this year, Mum. We're going to miss out on prom and that's it. That school life finished and she will start uni in September. And, we've got to see what happens, whether it's going to be the same as her brother.
But Anna, what is your favourite learning platform?
Okay. So I found that definitely through online learning, there needs to be so much more flexibility. And so I've been trying to instead, I'm trying to teach sort of GCSE level, it's grade 9, chemistry. And it's such a challenge to not be able to do that in the classroom. And even when we are face-to-face, there's so many children that can't come because they've had contact with a COVID positive patient, or some of them are not in the same country. So I've been trying to create sort of portfolios. So we're using Google Classrooms a lot, and they're trying to create portfolios through Google Sites. So instead of actually completing like small units and assessments, they will add every week the different concepts that we've learned, and they will maybe make a screencastify or a video or something, anything that they can do at home. And I mean, I've learned a lot about, I didn't know, I think it's quite famous that you can use red cabbage as a pH indicator, but you could also use red grape juice, turmeric, black tea, cherries, berries, all of this. So I'm kind of finding out a lot about kitchen chemistry while I'm doing this experience. I was going to say, though, to piggyback onto what everybody was saying about the challenges that these students are experiencing, I think what I'm starting to realize is how much my role of a teacher has to adapt to recognize that these children, when they're in my room, actually face-to-face on campus, have missed out on the natural childish side of their lives. And for my homeroom, I have children who are 15 and 16 years old. And usually when we have a homeroom, we're talking about all of the seriousness of high school. But actually, sometimes they don't want that anymore. They get plenty of chance to talk. They can WhatsApp each other and they can, have plenty of communication, but they don't get an awful lot of play. And one of my co-workers the other day said she was teaching her children how to juggle with paper balls, and it turned into this massive paper snowball fight in their room. And it's not something that you would necessarily embrace in past years. And this year, it's just so nice to see children playing in a way, and we can let them do that. And I think that just as I was listening to you all, it's trying to find these moments when we can sort of encourage that silliness and that fun to come back out again. And I think as teachers, normally it was me trying to battle and work around all that. And now I'm sort of encouraging it, go play, be silly in a COVID safe, socially distanced, mask on way, but finding those moments to do that. And even the portfolios that I was talking about, go into your kitchen and film yourself, do a screencastify with red grape juice, grab everything out of your kitchen. Trying to find ways to still bring a bit of silliness and joy to their day. And that's not usually something I have to encourage with secondary school children.
You can see, Annie, you've got a YouTube channel, right?
No.
Oh, you should. It'll be fun. Get everyone doing it. Actually, I've been doing a bit of as well as because I can't go and do the books, I can only sit so long twiddling my thumb. So I've been doing a bit of online teaching on a one-to-one. So I don't have the experience of teaching a whole group of kids in a classroom. But my little guy, he's 11 and he moved to the Emirates, and I've been teaching him English for a year. And he comes to me. And it's funny, he sees me more as a friend, I think. So he likes to chat a lot, and he tells me things like Pops Academy. I have no idea. So I find myself, Pops Academy, I find myself looking and going, all right, there are like dogs that talk. And I find myself, I have a lesson plan, but then I said to him, how about we write a script about Pops Academy, and we can be in the Pops Academy, and you can be one and I can be one. And the other day we were singing about vowels because he likes to sing. And he was so bored at learning how to do it. My husband was like, what are you doing? And I was like, bum, 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 bum. And he was like, and we were learning adjectives. And I can do that on a one-to-one. But I see that he's just like, oh, hello, another lesson. I'm so tired. And it's, I was like, we have to move, so we're going to do clapping now. And he's like, what do you mean? And I said, come on, let's wake up. And, but I don't know how you guys do it when you have a whole classroom of kids of however many to get them inspired to, oh, it's another boring class and I'm tired. I think it's a challenge. I don't know how you guys do it.
Do you do breakout rooms? Those of you who use online teaching?
Yep.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah. And then my husband actually did a really interesting, he teaches psychology, and he told a few students about his idea, the sort of, the leaders in the class. And he said, I want you to go to breakout rooms, and I want you to keep your camera on, and I want you to keep your camera off. And then to take notes of who keeps the camera on and who turns it off. And there is such a strong influence of the person who gets into the room first. So trying to keep these children to keep their cameras on makes a massive difference, because otherwise they're just speaking into the void and they just all end up going silent. So definitely, if we can get them to, and you can't ask somebody to keep their camera on, we don't know their circumstances, but if they can see people, real humans, yes, on a digital format, but real people, I think it makes big difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We've got quite a challenge at school because we've got SEN children, so children with special needs. So trying to get them to integrate on the online lessons, it's a real challenge. But I mean, the team have been amazing. They've literally come up with all these lesson plans, and it's things like getting music in, so the children start dancing, and then because they're so young, if we're doing a phonics lesson, they'll show them the letter, for example, S. So can you find something in the room? Look around the room. Can you find me this that begins with the letters? So get the children to run around. But it's all on video, so you can see the children running around like crazy trying to find things. And then some of them are just sitting there staring at the screen because they're not understanding it. So it's so challenging just to get the different levels of children engaged in what you're doing.
I think that's right. I think Isaac here, my eldest, he had to do gym, and they were doing a lot of theory stuff, and he was a bit like, that's really boring. But they started to make him go out on a walk with an app. I mean, I know it's still, but at least I was like, hallelujah, at least they're outside, because that's something I'm trying to introduce to their day when they're here, and trying to tell them you haven't been outside, and they're like, yeah, we don't need to. No, you do need to go outside, and you need to have lunch, and we have to have lunch together. No, I can have lunch in my bedroom. No. You have to be with us, and I find myself cuddling them more and touching them more, just to be like, come on, hey, how you doing? Because I want them to feel like social and not lonely, if that makes sense. So, like, when they're with their mates touch each other, like, all right, how you doing, buddy? Are you okay? To make sure they're not just isolated.
Yeah, just giving them that affection is so important for their emotional needs.
Exactly.
With mine, I'm constantly, how are you? How was your day? What were your lessons like? Come on, let's do something. We've got jigsaws, we've got painting by numbers, we're playing pool, and all sorts, just to get them interacting in other things, to get their mind off the stuff, but to keep them more active as well. It's just so challenging.
Exactly. I mean,
you were about to say something.
Oh gosh, yes. Something Yvonne said kind of sparked me, but I know what it was with Anna talking about and Shama talking about the different kinds of activities. Something that worked well in my family. So my kids were online for school from March through May, and then they've been back in school since September. But one of my kids is really creative in his like he's one of those kids that can sit down and do Legos for 3 hours without taking a break. And with the online platforms, the teachers gave a lot more flexibility on how to do an assignment. And so there was one time where I think the idea was that you would write something or I don't know what, but he ended up doing a stop motion video with his Legos. And I had no idea that he knew how to create a stop motion video. I was super impressed. And I just felt like it was a really nice way to show that I'm just all about like, there's a lot of different ways to be smart, and just knowing how to spell, isn't the only, or multiplication facts, not the only thing. And so he actually kind of thrived a little bit in online school. I mean, he missed his friends and all of that, but I just was really impressed with the teachers who let kids show off the way that they like to learn and the way they like to do things.
True.
Okay, then I think as a positive, because we've talked about how COVID has affected us, as a positive, what do you think was what you can take away from the online learning? I don't know, Shama first.
Yeah.
With the online learning, I know I said about my eldest not having the opportunity to go to university, but he's done unbelievably well so far with all his assignments, in the sense that he's been getting top marks. And to be perfectly honest, I think if he did have that time and was at the university and was going out and about, I don't think he would have focused so much on his work. I don't think he would have come out with his top grade. So literally, because that's been his focus, nothing else has been distracting him. He's really gone into town, and he's got those, he's coming out with amazing grades for everything that he's submitting. So for me, that's great. And at the moment, the children have had my youngest has been on online learning since middle of November. So that's quite some time now. So for him, he's still got that routine going. But just to see him actually doing the work, when they're at secondary school, you don't always get to see what their work's like. You don't actually get to see them in a lesson. So for me to actually observe him and see what he's like in the lesson and how he's interacting with him, it's quite interesting. You can go with what the teacher said, parents' evening, but they're saying they've got the parents' evening for 60 children. They're not going to remember each child. But for me to actually see him interacting, I'm glad I'm getting the opportunity to see that, see what he's actually like. So for me, that's positive. I really, that's a really good thing.
Or it naturally could just be my mother's behind me, so I have to work.
No. I don't need you to see me. No, you cannot see me. And I'm literally listening to the door to see what he's like, and I can hear him talking. So no. We don't come face to face in lessons. The doors are shut, so they know that they've got the privacy. But I know he's interacting.
Oh, that's me. Yvonne?
I will just say for the youngest one, who said it the other day, that he said the thing about online learning is I have to, I guess, concentrate more. And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, well, I can't chat with my friends. And I was like, yeah, that's come up on open evenings before, a chatty little fella. So maybe for him, that's a positive. I don't know for me, I don't know whether he would see it as a positive, but he has to be more focused.
That's a good skill to learn.
Yeah.
Awesome. Anna, what would you take away?
I agree that I've loved sort of having an insight into my children's schooling world. My youngest is very quiet not in the house, but in her teachers always say how she's very, very quiet. And she's volunteered. She's signed up for 2 talent shows where she showed off her science skills, and 2 exhibitions to show off. One, she did a project on sloths, but it's all been voluntary. And I think that she's quite, this time of, not being on show has made her actually want to speak out a little bit. So that's been really nice to see. But me and my husband both were told we'd had contact with somebody who was COVID positive, so we had to quarantine. We had to go home, and while everybody else was face to face. And as we were driving home, we realized I'm so disappointed, because where I do want to be is in the classroom with my students. And it's quite nice, we've been teaching for 20 years, and it's quite nice to, no, maybe not that long, but quite a few years. And it's really nice to know this is actually what I want to do. I think sometimes it's not until you lose the opportunity that you realize how much you enjoy it and appreciate it. And that was quite a wonderful, strange feeling to say, this is what I really enjoy doing. So yeah, that was a real positive.
Tracy.
Awesome.
Well, some things I've taken away from teaching online, and then also just my experience being an online learner with Sandy and Anna, is how you need to really stay present as an instructor, because a lot of my online classwork or my teaching online is asynchronous. I mean, sometimes we have Zooms or whatever with my students, but if I meet them one time a week in the classroom and then I have other things for them, I've had to come up with ways to make sure they feel like I'm still present in the classroom. And we're not allowed to have office hours in person. And a lot of times it's a small university, people would just pop by my office. And so, I've picked up some tips and tricks from other instructors, things like just doing putting out a weekly poll on some topic, and, just making people feel like I'm still there. And in the class that Sandy and Anna and I took together, our instructor was really good about making videos. And I actually really don't like making videos of myself. There's almost nothing I would rather do less than watch myself on video. But I'm accepting the fact that I think making sure your students see you and hear your voice and know that you're a real person, I think makes a big difference. It made a difference to me in our class that we took. I really enjoyed it. So that's something that I'm challenging myself on this semester, is making sure I have a lot of those touch points for students, especially in the classes that are completely online.
Awesome.
Wow.
Beautiful.
What experiences we all have and shared. It feels like there should be a community for people like us. We always feel like we're alone, but we're all going through the same things.
Right.
Mm-hmm. It is interesting how similar all of our experiences really are. We're spread around the world.
Yeah.
Right. And I think one thing also, if we can encourage each other to bring out the human aspect of whatever we're doing, whether it's in person, making paper snowball fights, or if it's online trying to find things in the kitchen to do science experiments with. I think it's so important that we realize that about everyone. I so appreciate you ladies taking the time to share your experiences with us, and I've learned a lot. And I thank you, Sharma, Tracy, Yvonne, and Anna, for coming on the show. And we are not done with this conversation. I think that this is only part one. So we're honored to have you here. And I hope that in a few months, maybe you could come back and we can talk about any other solutions that you found, or suggestions, or new challenges. We can talk a little bit. This has been a really nice informal discussion about life, real life right now for educators and families. So for our listeners, thank you very much for listening to the Chat with Sandy and Karen podcast. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at ChatWSK1, and find us and subscribe to our channel on Spotify, Google, and Apple. And we also have a YouTube channel. Thank you so much, everyone. And goodbye. Goodbye, Sandy. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks for having us.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.